welcome to DwellingsGH. I am Barbara Chumberma. Today, we explore the stunning garden of Hajia Rabbi Mohammed Ibrahim, a remarkable businesswoman, devoted mother of five, grandmother of 13, and a passionate gardener. Her love for nature transforms her space into a lively, colorful paradise. Get ready to immerse yourself in joy and beauty among her flourishing blooms and greenery. So today is a little different on dwellings because our homeowner, Hajia, is a very private person. So I will be standing in place of her to give you a background of this beautiful garden. So according to Hajia, she's inspired by her travels around the world and the various gardens and parks that she visits when she travels. And also when she visits friends around here in town, she gets some inspiration from them as well. The garden evolved over time, but also she makes small changes every day. Hajia said that when she wakes up and she's walking through the garden, she gets inspired and moves things around, recreates different environments for the plants and flowers. So the evolution happens really on a daily basis. So the plants that you see today or the garden you see today may not necessarily be the one that you see tomorrow, which is wonderful. One of the many changes that has happened in the garden from the beginning is that once the mosque grew and the people coming in became larger, Hajia did not want to isolate some of the worshippers from the mosque. So originally she had palms lined around the perimeters of the garden, but she moved them so that the people can be closer to the mosque. So that's one of the things that has changed over time. Also, the space has now been created so that when people come into the mosque and there is an overflow, they actually come into the garden to pray, which is beautiful. Hajia did not grow up with a garden in her home. But when she traveled and she got exposed to gardens and parks, she realized how much she really loves these spaces. So in the late 70s, when she relocated back home to Accra, she had the opportunity to create her own garden. And that's when she began her love for gardening. Originally, the mosque was a little smaller, but as the community grew and more people came to worship, the mosque was then expanded on. So it's an extension of this home. And one of the days that she was at the golf course, she noticed that there's been a tree that has been cut and was about to be disposed. So she reached out to whoever cut the tree, saw a bunch of roots, decided to cut them off and bring them home. She did bring the tree home, had it lying down, and then she realized that she wanted to change the placement of the tree. So she had it uprooted to make it stable. They actually created a concrete underneath it to keep it stable and strong and firm. And so then she has that also lined around the perimeters of the garden. And she has flowers actually growing on that tree. So she repurposed the dead tree and brought it back to life. Another interesting and unique feature here in Hajia's garden is that when she removed the palms, instead of having the pots outward, she buried the pots and had the plants in it, and then surrounded it with stones to ornate the area, which made it really cool. And that's unique because I haven't seen a buried pot. Usually pots are out, but hers is buried in, which is unique and cool. One of the most constant plants around Hajia's garden is the bird's nest fern, which she originally got from Malaysia. She grew them. She said she had three of them that she brought in. One died, and then she propagated the other ones, and then they grew in pots. Well, she tells a story of how she intended to grow a few of them in a pot to give to her daughter-in-laws when they got their own homes. But then she realized that the homes were taking too long to finish, and someone told her that she could actually bring them from the pots and actually grow them on the ground in the soil. So since it was taking too long for her daughter-in-laws to finish their homes, Hajia decided that she's going to then plant them around a big tree, which is in front of the house. And one day, hopefully, recreate another set for her daughter-in-laws, and they grew into this majestic look around the garden. I mean, around the tree, and it looks just stunning. It's really beautiful. It's the first thing you see. The first thing you see when you enter into the garden, and it's just very majestic. There are orchids all around this beautiful garden, all around the garden. Actually, we have orchids on trees, orchids in pots, orchids everywhere. And there's one in particular around the tree that, according to Hajia, when it's in full bloom, it's actually all purple. That is really cool. We didn't get to see that, but she said when they bloom, it's just purple orchids everywhere. So yeah, that's one of the things that we noticed around the garden. That is a lot of orchids everywhere. This beautiful summer hut was created so that Hajia can have her morning coffee and also enjoy the beautiful scenery in the garden. And also when it rains, you can just sit here and enjoy the rains. So our homeowner Hajia also loved colors. So that inspires her to add a bit of it everywhere among the plants. So you see that there's blues, purples, and yellows all around her garden. She just loves to have color in her garden. Hajia actually used an old dish to create crawling plants around it, which is pretty cool. It's really, really cool. I noticed that and I asked her, what is this? And she said, well, this is an old dish that we use. We no longer use it. So her creativity kicked in and she decided to use that as a space for crawling plants. At the back of the garden is actually a fruit farm. Well, yeah, it is a farm. Um, this is inspired by Hajia's husband. She actually has most of the foods that he loves in the farm. Some of it are the cocoa tree, there's noni, they also have banana, um, pawpaw, and star fruit, all of which were inspired by her husband. And also, I like that the idea of this dedication of fruits farm to a husband because it shows how thoughtful and kind that Hajia is. So located in the garden is a Bismarckia tree, which was gifted to her by a friend who launched her book here in the garden 14 years ago. This property that we are in right now is actually a colonial property which was purchased by Hajia and her husband about 20 years ago. She kept some of the original trees on the property because she wanted to keep the value and also to keep those trees alive. And so that goes to show her thoughtfulness as well. And I think it's something that we all need to be inspired by. There's no need to cut down all the trees. Some of these trees are extinct, and it's really important that if we can, that we preserve them in our homes. I want to say a big thank you to my friend Bridget, who is Hajia's daughter-in-law, for allowing us to come here to showcase the space. And also my biggest thanks and gratitude to Hajia for her warm welcome and for her time. I truly appreciate it and I've enjoyed it very much. I really hope you've been inspired to also take your garden, wherever it is, to make it into a beautiful garden like this. You know, I just said you don't need a big space. You can just create your own oasis in your home. And that's why I'm doing this, so that we can all be inspired. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. And until next time, bye bye.